Vandalism, the willful destruction of property. This councillor in Chertsey is trying to arouse public feelings about a growing local and national problem. He's doing it by showing them the wreckage. Even in a small area like this one, no one knows the full cost of the damage, and certainly national figures are a matter of guesswork. It happens where there's property like telephone boxes that's difficult to guard. Last year there were 100,000 different cases of wanton damage to public phones. Wires cut, phones ripped away, and often money stolen from the tills. It's not just telephones. In many streets, lamps have been broken, street signs smashed. Off the streets in public lavatories, lights have been broken, tiles stripped from the walls, lavatory pans smashed by a crowbar. In Birmingham, of every 3 acts of vandalism to public property, 1 took place in a public lavatory. Damage to lavatories is so frequent that some councils are reluctant to repair them. Equally obvious is the slashing of railway seats and damage to railway carriages. Repairing them costs British Railways £150,000 a year. But sums of money like this are insignificant compared with the damage that might result from the derailment of a train by putting things like old bikes, slabs of concrete on the line. Only last year, 2 people were killed in an accident on the Elm Park line. On this line alone, there were 10 reported cases of objects put on the line in the 3 weeks before the accident. It's not just public property. It's also damage to private property and suffering to individual people. 2 months ago, a fire started in the vestry of All Saints, East Sheen. The church is now without a spire, its roof gutted, and will be out of action for at least a year. What caused this fire?
We don't know definitely who started the fire, but it must have been some person who did it deliberately, because all the electric equipment has been looked at and it's absolutely 100%.
The fire was seen by an 83-year-old parishioner. She rushed to tell the vicar. Immediately, he ran to the church himself and found the fire was blazing away in the vestry.
I raced over to the telephone box, which is just opposite the church, and found, unfortunately, the telephone had been wrenched away. So I then ran back home, phoned 999, asked for the fire brigade, and when I came back here, I found, to my horror, I couldn't even get inside the church. In other words, during that short time, a small fire had become a really big one.
Have you any idea that the total cost of all this damage?
Well, it has been estimated at about £20,000.
£20,000 worth of damage instead of a few hundred. All because a telephone was out of order, and it still is. Tonight, the GPO does not know how many phones are out of order. It does know that last year over half the phones in the country had been damaged sometime during the year. We counted 8 public telephones in a row in 1 Richmond street, all damaged. In Birmingham, an official spot check suggested over half the phones were out of order, and in Manchester, a quarter. Much of this is damage to steal the few pounds in the till. Easy money. But a lot is just malicious damage, easy to do and a giggle. Damage to phones might be fun for vandals, but for this Norfolk family, 2 people might have died as a result. The wife was pregnant. She went into labour and her husband ran to phone for a midwife. The first phone he went to was smashed. So was the second. Finally, he managed to ring the police. While all this was happening, the wife had to deliver the baby by herself.
I had to kick into her to see if she was all right, and she just coughed, and then she cried out as he came in the door, and he helped me to put a towel around her to keep her warm, and try to cover me up the best he could.
You thought in fact she might be dead?
Yes, I did at first, because she didn't cry out. Like the other 2, they cried out straight away. Well, because she was choking with the mess that was there, and I nudged into her with my knee, and she cried out as he walked down coming in the door.
Not so serious, but still upsetting, was this old lady's experience. She's a member of an old people's club, which was the proud owner of a piano given by another pensioner. One night, a neighbour told her something had happened to the piano at the club.
And when we got there it was, it had been tipped right over off at the platform, very high platform, smashed down onto the floor, and the notes were all laying all over, pieces of notes all over the place, all the ivory smashed off of it, the side was smashed in, the lid was smashed off. It was hopeless.
And when you saw it, what did you think?
Well, I just cried. I was so upset about it. It must have been lads, grown up, it was a very heavy piano to have pushed it over. You can't imagine the strength to just push it over. And you can imagine the bash that it went. He said it must have been grown-ups that did it.
The most serious threat to life is vandalism on the railways. Many people could be killed or injured as the result of a railway accident. In 1964, there were 76 accidents caused by vandals. In April that year, the driver of a train from Wath Exchange to York felt something hit him in the eye while he was driving.
It felt as if somebody just clapped both hands over my ears and felt a bit dizzy, you know, and I started to perspire considerably, and I realised it was something more than just a knock.
A pellet, fired from an air gun by the side of the track, had hit him in the eye.
The driver stopped the train after I told him I'd been hit in the eye. At the time I didn't know what it was, and I was taken off and taken to Pontefract Hospital, where they removed the right eye because it was so badly damaged.
But what can be done to someone like you who've lost an eye? What sort of compensation can you get?
You can't get compensation only through the Ministry of Health. It isn't negligence on the railway's part, so therefore you can't claim compensation.
Things thrown at trains, something put on the line, damage to signals and railway points. These are a continual headache for the railway authorities. Last March at Elm Park near London, a crowded commuter train was derailed. 2 people were killed and 15 injured. The official inquiry said the train was derailed by an obstruction deliberately placed on the line. Lives were lost, and many more might have been. No one has been arrested. The railway police use closed-circuit television to stop things like this, as well as theft and other damage to railway property.
No.
Railway stations and sidings are patrolled. Tracker dogs used, as much to frighten off the vandals as to catch them. When they are caught, they're usually boys aged between 10 and 14.
Track, that's where the chap went down. Track. Track.
But dogs and patrols are only part of the story. Public cooperation is essential. I spoke to the Chief Constable of the Railway Police about the problem of public indifference towards vandalism.
They are indifferent in minor cases, but I think it's fair to say that in serious cases that could concern them, such as a child may be seriously injured as a result of some act of vandalism, then I think the public do become conscious of it and tend to cooperate more. They see possibly children on the track trying to place a tree trunk across the main line or something like that, and then we find they do become anxious and do report it to the local police or to ourselves or to the nearest railway signal box or something like that.
Is it possible to put any sort of price on the cost of vandalism to the railways?
It costs several £1 million a year to repair. As I have said, the damage to fencing alone costs British Rail over £1.25 million a year. Add to that damage to signalling equipment and to other installations, and the noughts increase.
And what sort of penalties are there for vandalism on the railways?
Well, malicious damage, of course, in its most serious form, such as malicious obstruction of the railways in a way that would endanger public safety, can be punished by the maximum sentence known to English law, that is imprisonment for life.
First, the vandals have to be caught. Policing thousands of miles of track is impossible, and this is also true of protecting public lavatories up and down the country. You may think there's something slightly embarrassing and faintly comic talking about damage to lavatories, until you, the ratepayer, have to foot the bill or want to use one. In Birmingham, in 1 year, there were 365 separate acts of damage to public lavatories, or one a day.
Lord, look at the roofs there, all this damage there. The kids fling us all up there and pull it all down. On there, windows, yeah. And that, sort of that there doors is broken, you see.
What, the towers?
Yes, I hit it with a piece of iron, sir.
And what about this tap? Was there a tap?
That tap was broken about 6 weeks ago, that was, and the water was running out here one Sunday morning. And I'd turn all the water off and send for the plumber to Curzon Street, you know. Look at it. Look at the pans here.
What's the matter with the pans?
Oh, that'd be repaired.
What do they do to them?
Hit with an iron bar. From the building side down here. Look at this.
What's the matter up there?
Oh, it's all the glass has been, the first grade glass has been broken down.
Well, how do they do that?
By knocking it down with a bar, you know. Look, it's all loose now, see? It rains in, you see, it causes it to rain in.
And what about here? What was up here?
That was lights up there. It's been repaired 3 times. And I don't think the public light is repaired anymore.
Why not?
Well, it ain't worthwhile, because they'd keep damaging all the while. The expense.
And what about, I think you haven't got any locks on the door. Why is that?
The people, the vandals have wrenched them off and took them away and stole the money, sir. And I reported it, and I didn't think it was worthwhile.
Now, when they start breaking up this place, what do they do it with?
Oh, a little bit of iron, and they swing on it. They find out they can. Well, first of all, it was done by a lid outside. They flung it up there and cracked a piece off, and they stand on there. And then they pull it down with their arm, you see, sir, and then swing it up and pull it down.
Well, they swing on this iron thing?
Swing on this iron, and then kick up. You can see the feet marks up there, you see.
Have you any idea who does it?
Yes, youth, you know. They're 15 or 17 years of age. Absolutely loony now.
What gets into their heads?
I don't know. I don't want a good whipping up, I think. The police often come round here, but they can't always be around here, sir.
Why do you think these youths do it?
But I've got too much time on around, too much money, I think that's what it is. It never used to be when I was young. I think this is a generation born since the war. It never used to be like that.
One question is whether it's really worth replacing fittings which may only be smashed again.
Well, all sorts of things.
And the problem's as bad in women's lavatories. And what about the ceiling here?
Well, this happens in the evening. They just come in and just get bring tools with them and just absolutely pull the place to bits. This has been done twice, and as you can see, it's got to be done again.
And what do people say? What does the public say about it?
Well, the public I don't think some of the public realise that that this damage is done by the public. They just say we're ratepayers and we want this and we want that. We give them what we can, and this is the result.
And you don't think you'll ever stop this vandalism?
No, I don't. I don't see how we can, because we've tried and tried, but it isn't getting any better. It's getting worse.
A familiar sight, dogs on patrol. But these are not policemen or police dogs. They are part of Birmingham's plan to combat damage to public parks. These patrols are out every night, largely to frighten off the vandals that do £4,500 worth of damage a year to the parks. One parkkeeper showed me some of the damage. What's happened up here?
Oh, this tree was attacked by vandals and they broke all the lamps round about it.
Any idea how many have been broken?
Oh, about a dozen to 15, I would think. I haven't counted them.
What do they do, just pull them out and smash them, or?
Ah, they do that, or throw something at them to smash them. Anything so long as they break them.
What about the flower beds and the shrubs? Do you get any damage to them?
Yes, we get quite a bit of damage in the seasons with these. When the planting out season, they come and throw all the plants out that the gardens have put in during the daylight. They come in the dark and throw the lot out on the path. Bushes, they have a bash at the bushes. They get their hatchets on trees, knives.
What other sorts of damage you get?
Oh, breaking of football posts.
How do they do that?
No, they jump up on them and swing on them until they break them. Till they hear the crash, and then that's the joint part.
When you see this sort of damage, I mean, what goes through your mind?
Well, you wonder what's actually in their minds. Not what's in mine, that's what's in their minds that counts.
And what do you think's in their mind?
I think they're empty. They've nothing in their minds at all. They wouldn't do these sort of things. They've nothing creative in their minds.
What can vandalism cost? I asked the chairman of the General Purposes Committee of Birmingham City Council what vandalism costs Birmingham ratepayers every year.
Estimate that it's between 45 and 50,000 pounds in value. But that isn't particularly the main thing. It's the inconvenience and the problems that are caused by these vandals, if that's the correct word to call them, to people who want to use services.
Do you ever decide that it's too much trouble to go on repairing something that's being constantly damaged?
Well, that's a good question. We don't give up. We repair it, and then we take measures as far as we can do to safeguard it. But one has to consider whether the cost of the measures that you have to take to stop any vandalism are more costly than keep on repairing what is broken. Guard dogs, burglar alarms, special alarms, intermittent patrols by people with uniform, not particularly police, but police protection as well. All sorts of things that we try to do to stop it happening.
Has the policy of using dogs and patrols had any effect?
Oh, yes, there's no question about that, because, you see, where we've got a constant patrol of either dogs or persons, you don't get any vandalism. Airport Committee, they've got, I think it's 10 constables patrolling the aerodrome, and their answer was vandalism negligible.
Isn't it often too costly to protect and patrol things like public lavatories?
Well, that's it. But where you've got an attendant in the lavatories, in the public lavatories, you get less vandalism than in the very fine public lavatories that we are building in our new subways with no attendants, but you get a lot of vandalism. Pull the tiles from the walls, pull the copper piping down from the system. You know, the strong man stuff. I'm a strong man, I can bend the copper pipe. They think they're heroes.
Do you know who these vandals are?
Various ones. It isn't always children. It's some of these callow youths, the louts, as I would call them, the teenage adolescents. And I don't want that to be thought, here's the old man talking about the younger generation again. But it is a fact. You can't get youngsters to root up a 250 weight concrete seat and pick it up and throw it into the pool and smash a fountain. That needs more than children. It means adolescents.
Is Birmingham atypical in this?
I think obviously that Birmingham, because of its size and its urban population, it gets a lot of this vandalism, but it is no doubt it is a national problem. It isn't specific just to one area. It's, well, the national slackening off of discipline, that hasn't been just applicable to Birmingham or one city. It is something that nationally, I think, we've gone a little bit backward on.
What would you like to see done about it?
I would say that the adolescents up to, shall we say, 20 or more, they ought to be dealt with perhaps a little more severely, and the penalties ought to be more severe than magistrates are even allowed to do these days.
In what way?
Well, speaking again quite personally, not as a magistrate, but perhaps a little touch of the cane here and there on the backside wouldn't hurt some of these people. And this isn't going back to the flogging and hanging period, but I think some corporal punishment wouldn't come amiss with some of these people.
In my young days, I should have got a jolly good hiding and probably have had to pay the amount of, you know, for the damage of the stuff.
And you think they should get a good hiding, do you?
I certainly think so. I think that is half the trouble. They don't get chastised enough these days.
You think they should pay for it, do you?
Yeah, I'll make them pay for it and a heavy fine on top. Touch their pockets, that's the main.
Well, what if they couldn't afford to pay?
Well, make them pay it over arrears. They must be working every day. I think they can pay them so much a week all through the year. They've been taking 2 or 3 years, and they can pay for it.
But a good bit is done by 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it is, yes.
Darn good hiding.
Good hiding, yes.
Really? Why do you think that?
Oh, because it was stop them. I mean, if they knew they were going to get a dog with walloping every time they did nothing, they wouldn't do it, would they? We didn't do it in our days.
Nothing like this?
No.
Did you believe that things like that happened?
No, I don't think it did. Not when I was a kid.
I think I should bring the cat back in there for them.
The cat?
Yes, do you think so? Give them a good tanning.
What makes you say that?
What I mean is, there's so much money back these days, there's people, there's no good find them anything, is it, really? I think I should be beaten up.
I think really they want a damn good hiding, what I call a good strapping from like the fathers used to get them years ago. I mean, that sounds unkind, I know, but I think it's the only thing that would make them look up.
What would you like to see done to someone who's been through a train with a razor, slashed seats, broken up the toilet feeding? What would you as a policeman like to see done to him?
Well, my instinct, of course, is to reply to that at least he should receive a very high sentence. I think it's prison sentence. I think it's ridiculous to think in terms of any other penalty such as flogging. I don't think that as a penalty has any merit left today. I think substantial fines in certain cases would be most useful.
People are getting worried by damage done by youngsters the same age as these. They're also breaking things, but this is a constructive objective. They are chopping firewood for old age pensioners. Constructive outlets like these might be the answer to vandalism for fun. But it won't touch damage to telephone boxes, damage for financial gain. Certain arrest and stiffer penalties might help here. But some vandalism is the result of self-hate as much as dislike of the property destroyed and the people hurt. Perhaps it's treatment and not punishment that the vindictive vandal needs. No matter why it's done, the result is the same. Damage and inconvenience. And most of it is probably done by youngsters. Why?
It's fun, isn't it?
What's fun about it?
Well, you get enjoyment out of it.
What sort of enjoyment?
Doing the government out of money.
You think it's funny, do you?
No. Don't think it's at all funny.
Why not?
Oh, say someone wants to phone for an emergency. Oh, there might be someone dying. You can still phone 999. Yeah, but not if you break the receiver. Emergency, isn't it? Not if you break the receiver. Oh, no, they don't smash them up. They just take the money or open the box. Don't smash the phone.
Well, they have to smash
them up. Yeah, they have. It's just a box.
I don't reckon vandalism nowadays is what, you know, it used to be. Grown-ups just say, you know, they just describe vandals as young kids. It don't matter who they are, whether they're good or bad, they just say they're vandals.
They're always blaming it on kids. Yet in the paper, 2 blokes got nicked yesterday for trying to do a telephone box. They say it's always kids.
If anything gets smashes, they come round here. Yeah. They come round our buildings and start questioning us.
Well, do you think you get the blame for things you don't do?
Yeah, all of us do. When something gets smashes in anything round here, they come round our square and start questioning us.
Or round Look, we're getting the blame of things that get smashed, so we might as well smash them and take the blame. We're going to take the blame anyway, so we might as well smash them, mightn't we?
We did smash them in the first place, to take the blame, we must have. Well, they throw a brick through a window so that the geezer who lives in the place will run after them. It'll be a giggle then. If he catches them, they'll stick
He's the bottom
up. Leave me alone.
And do you think people... Do you think they think about getting caught when they do it?
No, but you...
No, after they do, don't they? That's easy, then. After, when they're running away, they think, oh, is there an old bill behind me or not?
And what would happen if a policeman got hold of you?
It's your hard luck, isn't it? That's a chance you've got to take.
You go down Kenny and Nick.
Have you ever thought that you might get nicked while doing something like this?
Yeah. No, once you've done it, you worry. Once you've done it, while you're doing it, you don't care. But once you've done it, you worry. Ain't until you've done it, you worry.
No.
Well, it's a chance they've got to take, isn't it?
But is it a chance worth taking just for kicks?
Well, it's a laugh, isn't it?
What sort of kicks do they get out of doing things like that?
Just to show off, I suppose.
Showing off?
Yeah. So that's...
Why show off by breaking up something?
No, so that if they get caught, they say, they've been in the nick and all that.
And it gives them what?
think it's clever.
Bit of pride?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what they do it for, isn't it? A laugh.
But what's a laugh about it?
Well, it's a lark of them, ain't a lark of other people, I know, but that's what they get their kicks for, isn't it?